Anti-derivative still.
Joining me on this epic journey is Tygerstripes and a special guest for 2 chapters, Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. We have Scotty R37.
Bombadilio!
Hello.
Hello and welcome to A Year's Journey Through Middle-earth, Book 1, Chapter 8, Fog on the Barrow-Downs.
Now this confused me. Why aren't they walking?
They had ponies.
I know they have ponies, but I don't remember ponies in the movie.
Tom's not in the movie at all.
That's true, and I was curious if you guys wanted to talk about his absence at all.
The way Tom deals so casually with the ring, I can understand why people leave that out, not just of the movies, but there's been several recordings and radio presentations and all kinds, and Tom's almost always missing. He deals so casually with the ring that it undermines the importance of the ring in the mind of the audience, I think is what people are assuming. They're just assuming that the general viewing audience is not going to get it. I can understand that it downplays the building momentum of the story.
I suppose,
absolutely.
But he's also a very important guide in the beginning of the story where Gandalf is nowhere to be found, and so who's helping the hobbits? Tom Bombadil.
How do you express that ethereal, enigmatic nature of Tom Bombadil on screen? It does work a heck of a lot better through prose. And if you were to try and present this not quite a man, not quite a being, not divine, but not earthly or middle earthly, how do you do that without making it which is the big jolly old ghost, the ghost of Christmas past? How do you present that without making it look like a Muppet?
No, that's the ghost of Christmas present.
The
one who's sort of like Santa Claus.
Yes. Just to mix my metaphors, I would say that like the Muppet Christmas Carol is the best representation of that character, because every other time it's just like, I am a ghost. And it's like, okay, I guess. We've seen one already, and now we're going to see another one, but you don't get the same sense as you do from the original text.
That is an issue, is the difference between telling the story from the novel and the movie. And just to explain to you where the ponies came from, they came from something else that is only in the books and not the movie, which is the fact that Merry and Pippin are 2 different characters. You watch the movie and they're combined into one character. But in the novel, Merry is really on top of the ball. He's an incredible friend we've talked about before, and he had this whole conspiracy planned that they're going to help Frodo. They're going to go along with Frodo, not just Sam. Part of those preparations were getting all these ponies.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Since we didn't have Merry as the best friend ever in the movies, they just kind of forgot about the ponies for a while, and the movies just have Bill the pony, which we'll also meet very soon, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right now, Frodo's still dreaming, and there's more of that foreshadowing or backshadowing, I'm not sure anymore. But he's seeing things that he wouldn't see if he wasn't the ring bearer.
I believe that's foreshadowing all the way to the end of Frodo's story.
Yes,
but
right.
Either
because everything turns to silver glass.
Yes.
So yes.
Yes. Either in his dreams or out of them, he could not tell which. Frodo heard a sweet singing running in his mind, a song that seemed to come like a pale light behind a gray rain curtain, and growing stronger to turn the veil all to glass and silver, until at last it was rolled back, and a far green country opened before him under a swift sunrise.
And so that has to be at the end of the journey where he's traveling with the elves.
Yes, where he leaves Middle-earth.
And so they wake up, they have breakfast, and they say goodbye to Tom Bombadil, but then they realize, oh no, we didn't say goodbye to Goldberry, but she appears.
Well, they're on the path.
Yeah.
And she sort of rises on the top of a hill, and they meet her there, as if she knew they were going to miss her.
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely. It's a very sweet goodbye.
Yes, the ultimate hostess, the perfect hostess.
Definitely. And so they start on their journey. They make a lot of good progress. And there's just a whole lot of navigation, a whole lot of going over hills. And they're not lost yet. They know which direction they're going. They see the Brandywine River, so it's maybe one last look at the lands that they know about. So now they're entering lands that they know not as much about. Maybe Mary knows a little bit, but not as much as he knew about the Old Forest. And they can see hints of where they're going, but they can tell that they're looking at lands that hobbits don't know a whole lot about. All this beautiful navigation Tolkien writes tells us exactly where we are. They also see a line of trees marking the road, and they decide to stop for lunch. And this is where they're having lunch at the hollow circle with a single stone in the center. Standing tall under the stone sun above, and at this hour casting no shadow. They have lunch, and they accidentally fall asleep. And when they wake up, the fog has rolled in. And this is how they get lost, because the fog causes them to lose sense of their direction. They can't tell where they're going. Eventually, Frodo thinks he sees something good, and so he calls for his friends to follow him, but nobody follows him. And even worse, his pony abandons him. And so he can hear voices calling for him, and he calls for help. But everything gets dark. Frodo can't find his friends. He's lost. He cries out, "Where are you?" But he gets an answer. "Here. I am waiting for you." It's not his friends calling back to him. It's another danger, like Old Man Willow, but even worse.
Oh, yes. Yes. A Barrow-wight.
What is a Barrow-wight?
It's a spirit in a grave. It's got to be connected to the barrow. Barrow is an artificial mound, especially over a grave. In the really old days, these were, if a person was of some substance, royalty or a notable person, they were really massive and included a lot of things that belonged to the person. Their valuables, I think some Viking was buried with a horse, so they can be quite large. And
Wow, okay.
there's a phenomenon in England of barrows that are historically prominent, also of standing stones.
Oh, so this is not just a legend that Tolkien came up with himself. He's taking this from culture.
Yes, yes. It's similar to Stonehenge, but it's more of a cemetery.
Yes,
people would sometimes barrow rob, dig in, because you just don't know what you're going to find. Sometimes you will find jewelry and valuables and old swords and weapons, things like that.
And that's exactly what happens here. Frodo is seized by an icy grip, and the fact that this is something undead.
It appears to have corporeal form, so it appears to be the animated body of the person who was laid in the barrow. It's more than that, because the word wight means that it has evil intent. I think they want to bring people into their world, the world of the dead. And there's a lot of talk in this chapter about gates, and it reminds me of a line from Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book, where he has a chapter about the ghoul gate. In the book, it says every cemetery, every graveyard has a ghoul gate. And the gate is the gate between the land of the living and the land of the dead.
Frodo wakes up. He finds himself on a slab of rock laid out with his hand folded on his chest. The Barrow-wight doesn't just straight up murder its victims. It's performing some sort of ritual. Okay, I'll read this passage that helps me understand. When he came to himself again, for a moment he could recall nothing except a sense of dread. Then suddenly he knew that he was imprisoned, caught hopelessly. He was in a barrow. Barrow-wight had taken him, and he was probably already under the dreadful spells of the Barrow-wights, about which whispered tales spoke. He dared not move, but lay as he found himself, flat on his back upon a cold stone with his hands on his breast. And this is the point where Frodo thinks, "This is it. I'm going to die." At the same time, when that thought comes to him, he gathers courage, surprising courage. And the text continues, "There is a seed of courage, often deeply it is true, in the heart of the fattest and most timid hobbit, waiting for some final and desperate danger to make it grow." Frodo was neither very fat nor very timid. Indeed, though he did not know it, Bilbo and Gandalf had thought him the best hobbit in the Shire. He thought he had come to the end of his adventure, and a terrible end. But the thought hardened him. He found himself stiffening, as if for a final spring. He no longer felt limp. like a helpless prey. Thinking he's going to die is what brings him courage.
I also have to wonder if the ring is aiding him in this situation too, is giving him a strength that the other three did not have. Because when Frodo comes to, I believe he's still in his own clothes, but Sam and Merry and Pippin have been laid out as if for burial in the garments of the wight that died.
Yes, and with all the jewels and the stones and gold.
And weapons.
And not only just weapons, but there's a sword that lies across their neck. And that's really creepy.
Yes, it's so creepy. It's wonderful. It gives you the chills.
Like, what is exactly his plan? It's
Yes.
not a good one. But Frodo sees a white arm in the corner who's groping for the sword. Frodo is going to attack this arm with another sword.
It captures everything, including that the arm is walking on its fingers, which is just remarkable. I have to ask, is this a disembodied arm? Is it skeletal or clothed in flesh?
The closest explanation that is given is after Tom shows up again, and it says Frodo notices the disembodied hand running away as if a wounded spider. And so I would say it's kind of skeletal, but maybe a little fleshed, or I don't want to say furry, but with spines or something, like a fine hair. But that definitely sounds creepy.
Oh, it's so creepy.
Yeah, definitely creepier than Thing from Addams Family.
Oh, yeah. Personality goes a long way.
I don't think it's disembodied until Frodo cuts it off. At this point, it is an arm reaching through.
Right. Yes.
Frodo cuts it off, but it is still mobile afterwards, like you say, like a spider. So he hacks at that arm, and it works to dislodge the hand from the arm, but the sword is also broken too. And Frodo falls forward. He remembers, but that's when he remembers Tom Bombadil taught him that song to sing. And so he calls out, he sings the song. Tom Bombadil hears it. Frodo says, "Ho, Tom Bombadil, Tom Bombadil, by water, wood and hill, by the reed and willow, by fire, sun and moon, hearken now and hear us. Come, Tom Bombadil, for our need is near us." Frodo's heart is beating so fast he can hear it. And Tom Bombadil starts singing.
Old Tom Bombadil is a merry fellow, bright blue his jacket is, and his boots are yellow. None has ever caught him yet, for Tom he is the master. His songs are stronger songs, and his feet are faster.
And there's also a light of the sun rising red behind Tom's head. And there's that motif of the good, powerful characters in the story having light around them. And the light fell upon the floor and upon the faces of the three hobbits lying beside Frodo. He gets through the barrow. Tom Bombadil's head pokes in, and everybody starts to feel healthier, and Tom sings a song to wake them up. Before he does that, he scares away the Barrow-wight.
Get out, you old wight, vanish in the sunlight, shrivel like the cold mist, like the winds go wailing, out in the barren lands far beyond the mountains. Come never here again, leave your barrow empty, last and forgotten be, darker than the darkness, where gates stand forever shut, till the world is mended. This is what I overheard. This is definitely a bad cover song, but I do enjoy that he goes into the barrow and starts, kicking ass.
There's so much of this chapter about them getting there and being lost, and that increasing sense of eeriness. And then he just pops up and boom, makes everything right. Bingo. So fast.
His weapon, essentially, like his opening salvo, is just sunlight. And I liked that passage. It's like Frodo saw light, real light, sunlight. His reputation precedes him. His might is brought through the light.
And Tom and Frodo pull the other hobbits out of the barrow. Merry remembers the men of Carn Doom came on us at night, and we were worsted. Ah, the spear in my heart. But he was just dreaming of it.
He was experiencing what the Barrows, the wights that were present, how they had died.
That's amazing that he could feel the death of this warrior that wanted to end him. I wonder why that memory transferred to him. I wonder if it was part of the ritual.
Well, and if it being a barrow, a cemetery of sorts, then maybe it was the Maybe he was reliving the last moments of someone else who had perished and now was doomed to be a Barrow-wight.
The Barrow-wight was going to turn the hobbits into little Barrow-wights?
Yes, I believe so.
Wow, that would be so awful.
That involves killing them, but as well as enchanting them.
I did skip the Barrow-wights incantation song.
Cold be hand and heart and bone, and cold be sleep under stone. Never more to wake on stony bed, never till the sun fails and the moon is dead. In the black wind the stars shall die, and still on gold he'll let them lie, till the dark lord lifts his hand over dead sea and withered land. These are fun.
That's a very creepy spell. That's why they're in those white robes. That's part of, I guess, the ritual.
Yes, adorned and laid out for death, laid out as if for death. Also, before Frodo finds his heart, he has that moment where he wonders if he puts on the ring, if he could find a way out, and even imagines himself running free and grieving for Merry, Sam, and Pippin. But even Gandalf would admit that there'd been nothing else he could do. I'm sure these are the kind of feelings that Tolkien probably felt when he was in World War I in the trenches, where there's part of you in your mind that is saying, you've got to get out of here. You've got to leave everyone. You've got to save yourself.
That's natural self-preservation instincts.
Yes, but then your training takes over as a soldier and you just realize you've got to do what you're being told to do.
Right. Leave no soldier behind here. Leave no friends behind for Frodo. His courage, it says his courage was too strong to allow him to run away. I like how you compared that to Tolkien's experience, because that definitely did inform his writing.
I think so too. He denied it, but I feel sure it had to.
Well, and speaking of them wearing these white robes, they need clothes now. They're just wearing white rags. And Tom shook his head. I think this passage is really funny.
You found yourselves again, out of the deep water. Clothes are a little loss if you escape from drowning. Be glad, my merry friends, and let the warm sunlight heat now heart and limb. Cast off those cold rags. Run naked on the grass while Tom goes a-hunting.
And they do just that. They actually do that.
Yes.
And they get warmer and they feel better. And Tom tells them that their ponies were smart enough to smell the danger that they couldn't. So all the ponies are okay. He's given them all names that they'll keep their whole lives. And they also see a new pony, which is Tom's pony, called Fatty Lumpkin. And indeed, he is a fat pony.
Nothing better than a fat little pony. They're so adorable.
Well, and I like how Tom's like, oh, he's my pony. I don't usually ride him. He just wanders with me.
He's got to ride with the hobbits because they just keep getting into too much trouble. So
yes.
This means, though, that all the hobbit supplies and clothes are still intact. They've lost those original clothes, but they can wear their winter clothes, so it's a little more uncomfortable, but at least they have something.
Because Tom has really thoroughly dispatched the white, he lays out all its belongings into a pile and picks out a brooch set with blue stones, many shaded like flax flowers or the wings of blue butterflies, for Goldberry. Tom says, "Here is a pretty toy for Tom and for his lady. Fair was she who long ago wore this on her shoulder. Goldberry shall wear it now, and we will not forget her." It seems to me that Tom clearly remembers the wearer of this brooch, who's long, long dead. And somehow her brooch became part of a Barrow-wights hoard, but he remembers the person who wore it.
No, how does he know about this woman who wore this piece of jewelry?
Because Tom's the oldest, and I don't think Tom ever forgets anything. I think he's got an eidetic memory.
Not only that, but also, as we discover, there does come a point where Tom is like, I can't go any further. This is the end of my land. And so with the Barrow, it would be on his land. He would be familiar with this particular Barrow. And it's only when he has to go and be like, come on, guys, stop it. That's when he gets involved with it. But he lets them be. Any other time, they're allowed to, do their thing. He's never pillaged before. He's never gone and taken this stuff for himself, even though it is under his domain, if you will.
Yes, he only interludes whenever he needs to help. And who knows his song? If you're on his land, you know his help me, Tom Bombadil song, he'll come and help. But otherwise, you're right. He leaves the Barrow-wights alone until he can't.
I told you guys to go west. Now I have to go beat up the Barrow-wights. Come on.
Yes, but he knew that might happen. That's why he taught them the song. And so they have a really lovely, merry journey with Tom Bombadil trotting gaily beside them.
Also, before they leave, he picks out blades for them.
Oh, that's right. They all get daggers made by the men of Western Nice.
Yes, but they're so small that the daggers serve as swords for them. They're big enough to be swords for a hobbit.
Which is a very good imagery. Yes, I do love that idea. And it's a dagger to us, but that's a sword to a hobbit. So as they're on their merry journey with Tom trotting and on Fatty Lumpkin, where Tom is singing most of the time, but it was chiefly nonsense.
Yes.
And so they make it to the road with Tom, and he tells them he can't predict where the riders will come because it's outside of his jurisdiction. He directs the hobbits to go to the prancing pony at Bree. And Sam, all the hobbits, they beg him to keep going with him, but he says he can't.
Tom's country ends here. He will not pass the borders. Tom has his house to mind, and Goldberry is waiting.
Goldberry is waiting. Goldberry is his reason for everything. I love that. It's beautiful.
It is.
And Sam says, I'm sorry to take leave of Master Bombadil. He's a caution and no mistake. I reckon we may go a good deal further and see not better nor queerer. But I won't deny, I'll be glad to see this prancing pony he spoke of. I hope it'll be like the Green Dragon away back home. What sort of folk are there in Bree?
There are hobbits in Bree, said Mary, as well as big folk. I dare say it will be homelike enough. The pony is a good inn, by all accounts. My people ride out there now and again.
And I like this, how it's all, everybody's getting their stories straight. And it's like, no one say Baggins. If anybody needs anything, I am Mr. Underhill.
That's where the chapter ends. The hobbits hurry on. We go to the prancing pony. Tom Bombadil heads back home on his Fatty Lumpkin.
Nothing like a fat pony. Yeah. I wish I have a photo that I saved that I look at now and then just because it's so joyous of a fat pony running. I wish I had it here.
Oh, I'd like to see that. That would be perfect for right now. I don't think anybody's drawn. Has anybody ever drawn Tom Bombadil on this fat pony?
I haven't seen one of Tom mounted on Fatty Lumpkin, but that would be a good picture.
And with that, we're
on our way to the prancing pony.
On our way to the prancing pony, which means
There he is.
There he is. There goes Tom Bombadil. And just
Fatty
as we
Lumpkin.
have to say goodbye to Tom Bombadil, we also have to say goodbye to Scotty R37 because these are the only chapters he needed to read for us because he was here for Tom Bombadil, but Tom Bombadil's going home.
I have my house to mind, and Goldberry is waiting. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you for joining us. It was a lot of fun talking to you about Lord of the Rings. I don't think you've never finished a Lord of the Rings chapter before, but you did it for us.
I did, and it was fun. In fact, I would say a lot of the fun is just hearing you guys being so passionate and excited about it. I wish I could share it, but no, I'm going to go home now and go check out Blondie.
Then you're free to go because we're done with chapter 8 and we're ready to go get drunk at the Prancing Pony.
It's weird that I'm leaving before that, but okay.
Yes, it really is. You'd like it.
I probably would. This was fun. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. That's all for now, and we're going to continue our quest. Stay tuned.
Namarie.
This is the end. I'm going now. I bid you all a very fond farewell.